Distillation. A classical separation method involving the separation of components based on their boiling points. Absorption. A method where one substance is taken in by another substance. Liquid-liquid extraction. A technique where a solute is transferred from one liquid phase to another. Leaching. The process of extracting substances from a solid by dissolving them in a liquid. Drying. The removal of moisture from a solid or liquid. Crystallization. The formation of solid crystals from a homogeneous solution. Adsorption. The adhesion of atoms, ions, or molecules from a gas, liquid, or dissolved solid to a surface. Membrane separation. A method that uses a barrier to separate components based on their size or properties. Gas phase separation. Separation techniques applied to gases. Liquid phase separation. Separation techniques applied to liquids. Solid phase separation. Separation techniques applied to solids. Separation principles. Fundamental concepts used by chemical engineers to develop and operate industrial processes. Small-scale problems. Industrial separation issues on a smaller scale, like batch processing or recovery of biological solutes. Separation techniques. Methods used to separate chemical mixtures into pure components. Key components. Critical elements in a mixture used to measure the degree of separation. Separation power. The effectiveness of a separation process in isolating key components. Chemical intermediates. Compounds formed during chemical reactions as precursors to final products. Oil refineries. Facilities that process crude oil into different petroleum products. Chemical compositions. The makeup of chemicals in a mixture. Block flow diagrams. Schematic representations of chemical processes using blocks and connecting lines. Chemical reactions. Processes where substances transform into different substances. Auxiliary operations. Supporting processes in chemical engineering that do not alter chemical composition. Continuous process. A manufacturing method where production runs without interruption. Azeotropic composition. Azeotropic composition refers to the specific ratio of components in a mixture where the liquid phase and vapor phase have exactly the same composition during boiling. Impurities. Impurities are unwanted substances that are present in a material but are not part of the intended product. Reactor. Reactor is a device or vessel where chemical reactions are carried out in a controlled environment. Partial condenser. Partial condenser is a device that cools and condenses only part of the vapor coming from the top of a distillation column. Hydrogenation. Hydrogenation is a chemical reaction where hydrogen gas is added to another compound, usually in the presence of a catalyst. Crude distillation column. A crude distillation column is a large industrial tower used to separate crude oil into different components based on their boiling points. Absorption tower. An absorption tower is a vertical column used to transfer a gas into a liquid by absorbing certain components from the gas into the liquid. Reactive distillation. Reactive distillation is a process that combines chemical reaction and distillation in one single unit. Emulsification. Emulsification is the process of mixing two liquids that normally do not mix well, like oil and water, to form a stable mixture called an emulsion. Entropy increase. Entropy increase means the amount of disorder or randomness in a system becomes greater. Mass transfer. Rate governing process in separation operations. Thermodynamic equilibrium. Thermodynamic equilibrium is the state where a system's macroscopic properties are all balanced and no longer changing with time. Limits the extent of separation in operations. Fluid mechanics. Fluid mechanics is the branch of physics that studies the behavior of fluids at rest and in motion. Field playing a role in separation processes. Heat transfer. Involved in phase change and temperature control in separations. Mass transfer by diffusion. Enhances separation rates based on species diffusion. Mechanical separation. Initial phase separation based on gravity or centrifugal force. Phase creation. Separation technique involving immiscible phase generation. Barrier technique. Method restricting movement of certain species for separation. Solid agent separation. Technique using solid particles for chemical separation. External fields. Applied for specialized separations in some techniques. Chemical process simulation. Incorporating mathematical models into computer programs for operations. Continuous operations. Operations treated in detail for steady-state processes. Partial condensation. Removing heat to partially condense a vapor feed. Partial vaporization. Adding heat to partially vaporize a liquid feed. Extractive distillation. Separation method using liquid solvent and heat transfer. Reboiled absorption. Absorption process involving heat transfer with a liquid absorbent. Stripping. Separation process involving vapor phase. Azeotropic distillation. Distillation method using liquid entrainer and heat transfer. Evaporation. Process of converting liquid to vapor through heat transfer. Desublimation. Recovery process of solid from vapor. Foam fractionation. Process of recovering substances from gas bubbles. Supercritical fluid extraction. Extraction at temperatures or pressures above solvent critical point, changing solute solubility drastically. Zone melting. Selective distribution of impurity solutes between liquid and solid phases for separation. Sublimation. Transfer of substance from solid to gaseous state without liquid phase formation, often at high vacuum. Adsorptive bubble separation. Surface active material collects at interfaces to establish concentration gradient for solute removal. Minimum boiling azeotropic mixtures. Formation of azeotropes making azeotropic distillation a useful tool for separation. Single crystals. High-purity crystals produced by techniques like Czochralski method, vital in semiconductor industry. Or flotation. Solid particles attached to rising gas bubbles for removal from solution in a three-phase system.